Standing tall in the heart of Osaka, surrounded by moats and towering stone walls, Osaka Castle is more than a monument. It is a symbol of power, resilience, and ambition that has shaped Japan's history for over 4 centuries. Our journey begins not with the stone beneath our feet, but in the ashes of civil war. It was the late 1500s, a time of great unrest in Japan. The country was divided, with feudal lords, or daimyo, battling for power across fractured territories. Into this chaos rose a man who would change Japan forever, Toyotomi Hideyoshi. Hideyoshi, born into poverty, rose through the ranks of the powerful warlord Oda Nobunaga's army. After Nobunaga's assassination, it was Hideyoshi who took command and began unifying Japan under his rule. And to show the world the strength of his vision, he built a castle that would surpass all others, Osaka Castle. Construction began in 1583 on the site of the former Ishiyama Honganji Temple, which had been destroyed by Nobunaga during earlier conflicts. This was no random choice. The site held spiritual and political power, and building atop, it was Hideyoshi's bold declaration of dominance. He envisioned a castle that would be unrivaled in scale and beauty. Massive stone walls were raised, some weighing over 100 tons, hauled from distant quarries using sheer manpower and brilliant engineering. Moats were dug, gates fortified, and golden decorations placed atop the central tower to display wealth and invincibility. At its peak, Osaka Castle was the most formidable structure in Japan, a political headquarters, military base, and symbol of authority. But Hideyoshi would never see it endure. He died in 1598, just years after construction finished, leaving the castle and his legacy in the hands of his young son, Hideyori. What followed was one of the most dramatic battles in Japanese history, and Osaka Castle was at its heart. As we walk through the outer walls and across the massive stone foundations, we begin to understand this is not just a building. This is a battlefield of ambition, legacy, and survival. After the death of Toyotomi Hideyoshi in 1598, power in Japan once again stood at a tipping point. His son, Toyotomi Hideyori, was too young to rule, and old alliances began to crumble. Seizing the opportunity, a new force rose, one that would come to dominate Japan for over 2 centuries, the Tokugawa clan, led by Tokugawa Ieyasu. In 1600, Ieyasu defeated rival factions at the decisive Battle of Sekigahara, establishing himself as the most powerful man in Japan. But one threat remained: Osaka Castle and the Toyotomi legacy. Ieyasu knew that as long as Hideyori remained in his fortress, surrounded by loyal supporters, the Toyotomi name could spark rebellion. Thus began a slow and calculated path toward war. The conflict reached its peak with the Siege of Osaka, a 2-part military campaign that would decide the fate of the castle and of Japan's feudal future. In a winter campaign of 1614, Tokugawa forces surrounded the castle. Hideyori had reinforced the fortress with tens of thousands of samurai. The outer moats held strong, and though the fighting was fierce, a temporary peace was reached. The Tokugawa agreed to a truce on the condition that Osaka Castle's outer defenses be dismantled. But this was only the beginning. Hideyori, seeing the Tokugawa threats grow bolder, began rebuilding secretly. The Tokugawa viewed this as a breach of trust. In 1615, they launched the Summer Campaign, a final brutal assault on the Toyotomi stronghold. The Tokugawa army was massive, well-equipped, and determined. They breached the weakened defenses. Fires broke out across the compound. Warriors clashed inside the walls. And on June 4th, 1615, as flames consumed the castle grounds, Toyotomi Hideyori and his mother, Yododano, committed suicide, ending the Toyotomi lineage. The fall of Osaka Castle marked the end of an era and the final consolidation of Tokugawa rule. Japan would now enter over 250 years of peace and isolation under the Tokugawa Edo period. But the castle's story didn't end with its destruction. The Tokugawa began rebuilding, using the castle as a symbol of their own dominance. New structures were added, moats expanded, but the heart of Hideyoshi's vision, the daring defiance, the grand ambition, would never be erased. Even in ruin, Osaka Castle remained a powerful symbol. After the smoke of battle cleared and the Toyotomi clan was gone, Osaka Castle entered a new chapter, one written not in war, but in control. The Tokugawa shogunate, led by Tokugawa Ieyasu and his descendants, ruled Japan from their capital in Edo, modern-day Tokyo. Yet Osaka Castle remained critical. It stood at the heart of a city that had become a commercial powerhouse and a strategic gateway to Western Japan. Instead of abandoning the once rebellious stronghold, the Tokugawa decided to rebuild it. But this time, it would reflect their own power and authority. Between 1620 and 1629, massive efforts were made to reconstruct the castle. Stone walls were expanded, reaching incredible heights. Some of the foundation stones used during this phase remain among the largest in Japan. One in particular, the Teiko-ishi, or octopus stone, measures nearly 6 meters tall and weighs over 100 tons. These stones weren't just practical, they were symbolic. Each one sent a message. The Tokugawa are in charge now. Interestingly, despite its size and prominence, the newly rebuilt Osaka Castle was never used as a full-time residence for the shogun. Instead, it served primarily as a regional administrative center and a military outpost, staffed by loyal Tokugawa officials. For over 250 years, Japan remained in a state of relative peace, a period known as the Edo period. The samurai walked less as warriors and more as bureaucrats. Osaka itself thrived as the nation's kitchen, a center of trade, rice exchange, and cultural development. But by the mid-19th century, the tides of history turned once again. Foreign ships appeared along Japan's coastlines. The Tokugawa government, which had long closed the country off from the outside world, faced growing internal unrest and demands for reform. In 1868, the Meiji Restoration overthrew the shogunate, restoring power to the emperor and launching Japan into modernity. During this turbulent transition, Osaka Castle's buildings were burned once again, this time by retreating Tokugawa forces during the Boshin War. The stone foundation survived, the moats remained, but the grandeur of the castle was gone. And yet, Osaka Castle would not be forgotten. In the new Meiji era, it would be reborn once again, this time not as a fortress of war, but as a symbol of national pride and identity. As the 19th century gave way to the 20th, Japan was transforming rapidly. Railroads crisscrossed the country. Western-style buildings rose in its cities, and a new sense of national identity began to take shape. Though Osaka Castle's structures were in ruins, its stone base remained, solid and proud. And for the people of Osaka, it remained a reminder of their city's resilience, legacy, and spirit. In 1928, after decades of public discussion and local support, the citizens of Osaka came together with a remarkable idea: to rebuild the main tower of Osaka Castle. But this time, it would be different. The new castle keep, or tenshikaku, wouldn't be made of traditional wood. Instead, it would be constructed with modern reinforced concrete, blending ancient design with new engineering. Funded largely through donations from local citizens, The reconstruction was completed in 1931, standing 55 meters tall, with golden shachihoko, mythical tiger fish ornaments, gleaming atop its roof. This was no longer a military stronghold. It was a symbol of civic pride. But the castle's trials were not over. During World War II, the castle grounds were used as a military arsenal, producing munitions and equipment for the Japanese army. This made it a target for Allied bombing raids. In 1945, large parts of the surrounding buildings were damaged or destroyed. And yet, remarkably, the concrete main tower survived. In the post-war years, Osaka Castle stood once again, not as a fortress, but as a silent witness to a nation's struggle and rebirth. The moats were cleaned, the stone walls repaired, and in the decades that followed, the park surrounding the castle blossomed into one of Osaka's most cherished public spaces. In 1995, the tower underwent a full renovation, transforming it into a modern museum. Elevators were added to ensure accessibility. While the interior was designed to tell the story of the castle's history, Toyotomi Hideyoshi's life, and the many wars, fires, and rebirths the site had seen. Today, the observation deck at the top offers stunning 360-degree views of Osaka, a city of glass towers, neon lights, and ancient roots. From samurai fortress to wartime relic to cultural treasure, Osaka Castle has endured, not by staying the same, but by changing with time. Today, a visit to Osaka Castle is a journey through centuries of Japanese history, and it begins long before you reach the tower itself. As you approach the castle grounds, the first thing you'll notice is the moat system. There are two massive moats, an inner and an outer, both designed to protect the core keep. These moats are wide, serene, and still reflect the castle's walls perfectly on a calm day. Crossing the first bridge, you step into Osaka Castle Park, a sprawling 106-hectare area filled with walking paths, gardens, and green lawns. During cherry blossom season, the area becomes one of the most visited hanami spots in the country. Pink petals floating above the moats, soft music, and thousands of visitors gathered under the trees. You continue toward the heart of the grounds. Tall stone walls rise up in front of you, stacked with massive, angular stones placed centuries ago. Even today, these walls impress with their engineering, built without modern machinery, yet perfectly aligned and enduring. Pass through Oatman Gate, and you'll find yourself in the main compound. Here, you can see several layers of defense: the Sengenyagura turret, the Ichibanagura storehouse, and the Gokurakubushi bridge, each restored or preserved to show the military design of the Tokugawa era. But the most iconic structure of all stands tall at the center, the main keep, or Tenshikaku. Rising 9 stories from its stone base, the current tower blends traditional architecture with modern materials. Its green-tiled roof, golden ornaments, and sweeping views make it one of the most photogenic buildings in Japan. Inside, the Osaka Castle Museum offers multiple levels of exhibitions. You'll find suits of samurai armor, historical maps, letters written by Hideyoshi himself, and digital recreations of famous battles. Touch screens, models, and multilingual guides make it an educational and immersive experience. On the top floor, the observation deck provides panoramic views of Osaka. From this vantage point, the contrast is striking. Centuries-old castle stone at your feet and futuristic skyscrapers stretching across the horizon. As you descend, you pass through floors filled with stories, not just of battles, but of art, culture, and politics. You begin to see Osaka Castle not just as a military base, but as the heartbeat of a region and a symbol of a nation. As the sun lowers behind the main keep and the stone walls glow in golden light, Osaka Castle transforms from historic landmark to something more, a place of peace, beauty, and shared memory. Throughout the year, the grounds become a living stage for Japan seasons. In spring, the cherry blossoms bloom across the park's pathways and around the moats, drawing crowds from all over the world. Pink petals drift through the air, families lay out picnic mats, and photographers gather to capture the fleeting beauty of Hanami, the celebration of flowers. In summer, fireworks festivals light up the night sky behind the towering keep. The castle is illuminated, reflecting on the water, a backdrop to laughter and celebration. Street stalls line the paths with local foods, takoyaki, yakisoba, kakigori, creating a festive energy rooted in both tradition and joy. Come autumn, the leaves change. Ginkgo trees and maples turn vibrant shades of gold and crimson. The castle park becomes a painter's palette, rich in color and quiet reflection. In winter, snow occasionally dusts the rooftops, and the park takes on a calm stillness. Fewer crowds, more quiet. The castle seems to rest, as if remembering everything it has endured. And through every season, it continues to welcome people from across Japan and around the world. Locals jog along the moats in the morning. School children on field trips take notes and pose for photos. Tourists marvel at the history, the size, the silence between the stones. More than just a castle, Osaka-jo, as it's called in Japanese, is a symbol of ambition born from Toyotomi Hideyoshi's dream, a symbol of resilience rebuilt after war and fire, and a symbol of unity as modern Osaka embraces its past and looks forward with pride. It reminds us that greatness is not built in a day, that empires may fall, fires may burn, and eras may change. But what is remembered, what is honored, can always rise again. So when you visit Osaka Castle, don't just take photos. Walk slowly, listen closely, and feel the heartbeat of centuries beneath your feet. Because here, in the shadow of these walls, Japan's past still breathes, and its story continues.